Good evening, guys. Good evening, Cleo.
Good evening, everyone.
How are
Good
you
evening,
doing
sir.
today?
Um, I'm still alive, I guess.
Yeah, better be because we have a tons of
Mm,
students that are waiting inside your brain. So stay alive, stay safe.
yeah.
Everything all right? Still at home?
hmm
Are you
Yeah.
missing the office?
Yeah, very much. I miss the office mates, the friends, the chit chat and everything.
I know, right? But for now,
Mm,
good evening, guys. Good evening,
mm.
Cleo. Oi, I
Good
have a
evening, everyone.
I have how
Good
are you
evening,
doing
sir.
today? I have
hmm
double sound. Okay, sorry for the hiccup. There was a double sound. Okay, so let's get started with your introduction. Who are you, Cleo?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cleo. I'm a software developer at Startechup, and I mostly work with JavaScript and Python sometimes. So yeah, awesome to be here. And who are you, Baptiste?
Who am I? Baba, you mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
in the stream, I'm Baba, the full name Baptiste. I created
Mhm,
Startechup 7 years ago. We are a software development company. I am IT engineer, and yeah, I manage these awesome team of great developers. What else do I do? I try to do all whatever is needed as a CEO. So um, trying to be visionary, trying to do cool stuff with the academy, trying to oversee the marketing, trying to deal with the business, with the sales, with the business development, and all of these great stuff. Always eager to learn from different businesses. And in the past, I was a consultant, so it's my job to be listening to our clients, understand their problem, and come up with solutions. So at the moment we have a problem, we need to learn from each other, and yet we cannot meet face to face. So we just have to do it through webcams. So that was for our presentation. Let's get you participated, guys. So the chat is next to our faces. So first, hello Luri, hello Restituto, and Asu Jobina 72 on Twitch. So we have guys on Twitch, we have guys on YouTube, and we probably have guys on Facebook. So
mhm,
guys, please comment. Let us know actually if the sound is good. Let us know
mhm.
if the quality of the video is good because our programming session is long, and if there is no sound, we're in trouble. We'll be Sayong. So let's see. Let's see. Can someone say if our sound is good? If the everything is working properly? So you can see. Okay, Kent. Thank you, Kent. Sound is clear. Awesome. Thank you, Kent. On YouTube. Nobody from Facebook? Who
Yeah,
is?
nobody from Facebook.
Yeah, you better
Mm,
not use Facebook, right? It's a waste of time.
mm,
No, no. It's useful for Startechup, the Startechup Academy. But I'm trying to figure out where is the. So
mm.
we have several watchers on Facebook, but
Oh,
I
there's one from Gatsby Mariapan. Hello, all good. First time here. Thanks for
ah,
creating this.
cool, awesome. Welcome,
Yeah.
Gatsby. Okay, so we have Facebook good, we have YouTube good, and the other Violet. Apparently, we cannot say the name if we are streaming on YouTube. They ban your videos, so that would be great. Oh, there is someone that I know. It's my niece, Olivia Besse. So hello from France. From the Philippines to France, so we are becoming international with this Startup Academy. Isn't it
Oh.
awesome? Yeah, that's cool. So let's see. So that's the first time we reached France, but I think some they told me that they've been watching few seconds and stuff on the other side of the world, but we never got a comment from France. So actually, guys, that will be a nice thing. If you are from outside the Philippines, from wherever, comment and put us what country you're watching us from. That will be super cool. So at least we can travel because we are locked up in our house. So if someone tells us they are watching from who knows Tanzania, let's say something a pays random, Colombia, or that will make us travel a little bit. We can close our eyes for a few seconds and start dreaming about traveling again. So yeah. So thank you, Olivia, for your comment, and hello to French people. Thank you, guys. Cool. So that's about us, and the sound is good. So let's move to what we are trying to tackle today. So I will do again this slight repetition because some people they didn't join us last week or the previous weeks, and I think it's important for everybody to be on the same page. So I will introduce the Startechup Academy. I will introduce the Globe Drop application, which is the application that we take as an example for all these different courses material. So at least you have an understanding of what is this application about. Um, Cleo will go over the content of today's course. What exactly in React.js we will be talking about. There will be hello Ronaldo. We will do then live coding. So Cleo will start coding and follow the content of the course. We are aiming to do a break every 5 minutes to the hour, just so Cleo can get a glass of water and have a little bit of a break. And so that will be for the first 2 hours, and then the last 15 minutes we will do Q&A. So it's a long session. Guys, do not be worried about not being able to really follow exactly everything. From A to Z, you can do break, you can do replay later on, you can also pause the video and continue. It doesn't matter. However, if you want to interact with the chat, much better if you're also following what we say. However, the course will be available offline, or I mean, on replay, on YouTube, on Facebook. So you will be able to practice exactly what Maestra Cleo is teaching us today. Um, so that's for the agenda. Let me move to the academy. Let me move here and I will present the Startechup Academy. Voila. So Startechup Academy, since we're a software development company, we decided to share our knowledge to the rest of the world. Also, we share our knowledge internally. It's been years and years and years that we all from the company, all our team members, we've been learning from each other. So basically, since now we don't spend time in commuting and we stay home, we are bored. So we want to connect with you guys through streaming, and we make it free just because that's the way it is. Our vision is basically your knowledge in terms of software development can bring you a lot in your life. You can really have a great lifestyle, and I think it's a fascinating job, software developer. So we are trying to, bring opportunities to everybody exactly the same way. I'm sorry for the our faces. They are taking some space over the slide. So yeah. So Startechup, the academy's mission is to build a learning framework, and this framework is through live stream and then available replays anytime on Facebook and YouTube. So that's about our mission. What are we gonna tackle? We're gonna talk about so many technologies. So if you're familiar with software development, you have the
Mhm.
backend, the front end, the server side, the databases, you have APIs, you have mobile application, etc. So we'll try to tackle basically every single one of these technologies, because all these technologies you see in that screen are the technologies that our team are dealing with on a daily basis. So we are gonna cover all of it. Um, Maybe not everything will be Cleo because she doesn't do mobile development, for example, but she can cover quite a large topic. Altogether, so let me share with you the GitHub. So you can find us on GitHub, Startechup Academy. All the material, all the codes that we are programming in front of you are available in that GitHub Startechup Academy account. We've done already the backend NGO directory, and then the front end. That is the React JS, and there will be more and more and more. So we'll probably need to rename them a little bit to be very,
Mhm.
very clear. Like the NGO their directory should be Node.js course globe drop,
Mhm.
backend dev globe drop, and then right now it's React.js front end globe drop, etc. The goal here is that we all connect with each other. And to be very clear, guys, me hiring a lot of software developers, one of the things that I appreciate a lot when they send their resume to me is that I'm able to see their GitHub account or their any other Git tool, but at least I can see really what kind of things. So it's obviously side projects. I'm not recommending you guys to publish the projects that you're working on for your current company. Absolutely not. Not cool, not good. But all the other projects, all the little thing that you practice on the side, it's very, very, very good for recruiters, for managers, for whoever wants to hire a developer to be able to check their GitHub. That's really the goal. So please make sure that when you follow our courses, don't only listen, but actually code. Push your code on GitHub, because all our material is free, is open source, it's given. So you can use it and reuse it and reuse it as much as you want. So please do so by pushing your code on GitHub. We have We have a Discord community channel where we are able to discuss all the things related to the courses. So we are just on the course number 4. So for now, there is not yet much interaction, but the goal here is to be able to talk technically about all the challenges that you have in terms of uh, following the course. So it's like basically raising your hand when you're in a classroom. That's exactly the same goal with this Discord. Will be to raise your hand, and hopefully either our mentors, either more senior people will be able to answer your concerns, your questions about your challenges when you're programming, and more. Also, we can share a lot of things there. And we created also the Startechup Academy Facebook page, which is a closed group, because we want all our students, all our mentors to be really connected to each other. So if you don't have Discord, maybe you can use on Facebook. I will recommend still Discord more because it's more private, and Facebook has a lot of unnecessary features that we are not gonna use. So Facebook will be more for announcing what could be the next course. We will do polls there eventually also, like what is the next topic you would like to get, etc. So Facebook will have a slightly different purpose, but if you don't want Discord, still use Facebook, or vice versa. The best is to be on both. Don't worry, we won't spam you too much. So that was about the Startechup. And yes, I should mention that one because we are going to use also the goal of you learning, guys, is to get great opportunities, right? to learn, and learn will level up, will lift you up in your career. I don't know how old are you in, how old are you right now in the chat? Noel, Renaldo, Rochiel, Gatsby. I don't know how old you are, but most likely you're not 55 or close to 60 if you're following streams. So you're probably in your 20s or 30s. No matter what, learning will bring you up, and you can really get access to really great opportunities when it comes to awesome jobs or awesome software engineering, and which goes along with great salaries also. So starting being targeting all these great developers. We have two open positions right now. We have one senior React.js. So you're following our React.js course. So I'm assuming you might not be yet extremely senior. However, if you know a senior, you can refer them to us, and we will give a reward between 7 to 20,000, because it will depend on when this person can join. So if you know someone that is extremely interested in changing role and is super good senior React.js developer, I can guarantee you we will give you 20,000 as a referral bonus, because we really need a React.js developer. And you cannot see underneath, but we are looking also for a senior Laravel developer. Senior Laravel developer. If you know someone, please do so. You can check on our Startechup career page. You go to startechup.com career page, and then you will see these two job positions, and we have a little bit more, but these two are the most urgent, I would say. So that's for the Startechup Academy. Now let's just go very, very quickly for you to understand. Again, let me just move that one to. Okay, I, no, that's not good. So our application that we are taking as an example is called GlobeDrop. GlobeDrop is a TripAdvisor listing all NGOs, charities, um, uh, basically any non-governmental organization. Those non-governmental organizations are the one helping the others. Could be an orphanage, it could be an animal shelter, it could be an organization for the environment, it could be an organization for helping out senior people. So back then we started this project at Startechup, and I basically want to upgrade the entire application in terms of technology and reuse that project, because that project can be TripAdvisor, literally, it's the same. Can be like Airbnb. Basically, you can use the same concept for any other application building. You build another application, doesn't relate to NGOs, doesn't matter, because the concept that we're tackling are very, very similar. Here it's really a list of all the NGOs around the world, geolocated, where their country, their name, etc., and then the people that can interact with them. So either as managers, either as people that just wants to communicate with them, which we call travelers, or super administrators. So that is basically the default concept whenever you are developing an application. These concepts are very fundamental. So that's about GlobeDrop. And I think the mockups. So let me see the mockup. So, last week we were able, if you can see in our screen, we were able to tackle all the authentication. So now all our users are able to enter our application by authenticating. So we're able to sign up and we're able to log in. Now today's content will be about now developing all the other screens of this application, and I will probably let that to Cleo. Cleo, do you have in your content presentation really what is the NGO directory, or do you want me to tackle it?
You can probably introduce it.
Yeah. So literally, the concept is that same as it goes with, let's say, Airbnb, when you rent an accommodation. So you usually need to authenticate, to connect, to create an account, to start asking for a booking, for booking a property, an apartment, a beach house, or whatever, a room when you go on holiday. I'm pretty sure everybody is familiar with Airbnb. So here is the same concept. So now we want to our users to authenticate, meaning log in into our application. And from there, they will have different rights based on their privileges. Either they are super administrators, they can be organization managers, meaning that they have the right to edit the content of an organization that is already existing, or you don't have any right, you don't belong to any organization, you're simply someone that wants to do a request to the organization. So you want to basically see all the organizations that are available in this application. It's same as a yellow page, for example. You're looking for a plumber, and then maybe you don't need to authenticate, but for our application we need to authenticate. So the NGO list will be showing the entire list of all the organizations that are published, active, validated, managed by a certain person, or you can only see all the organization per country, etc. So it's a very raw material for now, because obviously this application will take many weeks to develop the full user interface. So be patient, because software development is not something you can create an application in just a matter of 2, 3 hours. It will take many more hours. That's about the application. Today we will cover really about how we will build all the components for this NGO directory, this page where you will be able to visualize all the NGOs that are listed into our application. And that's
Mhm.
it for me, I'm thinking. So up, I change to you. Now you are the master. And oh, we have Noel that says someone is watching from Makati. So hello, Makati.
Oh, hi. We're going national.
Yeah, we are international, Makati and France. My
Proud.
God, that's awesome, guys. Thank you for being here. Let me
Mhm.
try to do because where is your screen here? Okay. Yeah, I will just. Oh, I think it's fine. I will just leave it like that. Okay,
Mhm.
that's your turn, Cleo.
Okay, so again, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. So we are on our second session for the front end development. So again, this is a part of a series for full stack web development with MERN stack. So MERN stands for MongoDB, Express, ReactJS, and Node. So for the first three sessions, I think, and we tackled the back end development. So now we are trying to have our the APIs that we made, the backend logic that we have into our user interface or the view layer of our MVC app, Model View Controller app. So, recap from the previous session. So, last session we were able to convert the manual authentication that we have into a passport local strategy. We're also able to create an authentication for Google and Facebook. At the same time, since it's also good to have validations on the server side, we did that with Joy. It's an npm library for schema validations. And lastly, we're able to initialize our front end project with a Create React app. So last session we created the Create React application using the npx. Let me open my my code editor. So yeah, we're able to initialize this project. So we created this from CRA, Create React App. We're also able to discuss what is JSX. So basically, JSX is uh, it's it's a templating used by React instead of regular JavaScript. And so we also tackled, let me go back to my, we also discussed what are components. So components, basically they are small, uh, they are, so React is built around the idea of components, reusable components. So you define small components and you put them together to form bigger components. Every application you develop in React is made up of pieces in your interface, and they are called components. And so we also discussed about the file structure. So we for in order for us to be quick in building our components, we actually referred to the material UI. It's a it's so it's here, material UI. So we're able to also install this and use this in our app. And in order for us to be fast, we are using some of the template already created for us in the source code for Material UI in their GitHub account. So this is the link to that, which is also included here, Material UI reference. So we fetch our header from this particular file, and our sign in, sign up, our NGO list page, and also our admin dashboard. And also aside from that, we also discussed the file structuring. What's the suggested file structuring? Well, React doesn't really have a particular convention for file structures, but in our example, we are using the grouping by file types. So for example, in here we have the views, which means these are the pages. Then we have the components, in where we have those pieces in our interface that is been repeatedly used all throughout our application. For example, our header, or we can also add here footer. And we have our API here, and and we will still build the rest. But yeah, we're doing the file structure with grouping by file type. And we also discussed about React Router. So here, we're able to initialize our views. So that's the view right there. It's still as plain as it can be. Then we call these views into our app.js, and we assigned a particular path for them. And we used switch in order for us to assign a particular path and render that specific component. Okay, and so before anything else, I would like to introduce some things that may help you in um in building React applications. So let me minimize this. Okay, wait. Okay, so let's go to this link here. So as you can see here, the way we are importing our components is really we really need to be aware of the file path of our components. So what if I will go to, for example, I'll be importing the header, so I need to be aware that probably I need to go out of a certain directory and probably do like that. And when you're trying to do this, sometimes it really gets too long. So here I will be introducing you to absolute imports. So this is also from the Create React App documentation. So it allows you to create an absolute path for a certain for all of the directories inside your SRC folder. So how will we do that? So we will be able to do that by creating a file here. What's this unsaved file? Okay, let's just save that. And then I'll create a file here. So I'm gonna call it jsconfig .json. And so let's go back to the documentation. So basically, I'll just it says here you can configure your application to support importing modules using absolute paths. So we created this file, and then we're setting up the base URL into our src folder. So let's do that. Then let's save. Then so in this case, I can already call this, since I'm already my base URL is already in the src folder. Then that means whenever I try to call my components, I don't need to do this backslash going out of directory stuff. So I can just say directly refer to the my base URL is
directory
already
on
in the
which the
src
component
folder.
is
Then that
located.
means whenever I try to call like that, and that is way much cleaner. So also, for example, here, right? So you can directly call this as uh, API user API. Let's save that. Let's try to run our app if everything is good. Wait, let me turn off my other. Let me do it again. So PM start. So let's go to localhost 3000 because it's opening in my other tab. It's still starting the development server. So yeah, that's just a warning because we imported user login here, but we're not using it yet. But then let's go to our app. So here, so let's go to list, and it should work as the same way as it should work. But it's much cleaner with our file imports. So yeah, the next thing that I will show you, these are just some tricks. So you notice that that importing this material UI components, we know that from here, it seems that they have this commonality of having material UI slash core. Then you're still using you're specifying what component it is, when in fact you can do something like this and object destructure them. Let's say avatar, then button, then we can do the rest, then from, then let's just say like that. So this would also work. And if you do it this way, this is way cleaner, and also it you won't be having those multiple lines where you have to scroll really long because you have all of these imports. But then when we look at the material UI documentation, let's go to the components. This is how they specified their imports. So wait, let me go to, let's say, up bar. So as you can see here, that's the way they show the examples. But then you can do it like that. So yeah. So I'll just delete this. I'm just showing you some probably things that could help you. And yeah, so something that we need to adjust in our API in our util. So remember that we created this wrapper for our Axios calls. So actually in our backend API, so let me open quickly NGO directory. So when I go to user routes, let's just go to our routes. What we have here is post, get, then we have put and delete. So here I forgot to change this to put because it will return an error because patch is not something we actually declared in our backend. So let's change this to put. And then I will export this as put. Okay. And then last thing that I will show you is that let's go back to our login page, NGO list, header, so sign in. Okay. So as you can see here, when the first time that I open this file, all I see right away is this is a component, and I also see this use styles. I don't really see the structure of my component right away. So I think it's good practice that we remove everything that's not related. That's they're related, but it's not directly the structure of your component. I will move this to the bottom so that when I open my component file, I see right away that, oh, this is like the render function, and this is what is expected to look like in my uh this is what is outputted in my web application in my front end. So yeah, so those are the things that we need to set up before going through the lesson. So now the lesson proper. Last time, we're able to create a user API function here that is basically calling a wrapper file from wrapper file for Axios, and then we have this path here, which is basically we have in our backend, which is deployed already. So it's here. So we have a backend already set up for you guys, so you can use this. This is basically the Swagger UI, but then when you're trying to call your API, don't use the API docs, only the 3000. So yeah, so we're having the user login and user sign up. So that's slash user login, then slash user. So both of them are post. So that is available. That API endpoint is available. So here, user login and then the user post. So yeah. So in here, what we have is the sign in view, right? So what we will do here is to integrate that particular API to our component. And so how can we do this? So so in the old so here in this component, we need a container for the value of the email and the password that we will have. Let me just close this. So let's go back again to our base path here. So we have two text fields, right? The email and the password. We need something that would hold the value when we try to put something in here. And so we in order for us and we will be able to do that by using states. So states are data that live within the component. So it's also that this data can change, and that a component can hold its own data, which are defined by the states. So in old ways, the way when we try to initialize a state, what we do is using class. So for example, we have this dot state, and then the state name, and then we declare the variable, right? But now in newer version, we have the hooks. So let's go to we have the hooks. So we can use state within a function components using the useState hook, and it solves the problem uh, with components sharing states. So let's go to the React documentation about hooks. Yes. So this is part of the three basic hooks in React, which is useState, useEffect, and useContext. So here, useState variable. So uh, the first variable here, let's say count, is actually the state name. And then here, this is the function that will allow you to update the value of your state. So in the old times, uh, this is called this dot set state. For those of you who have tried React before, this dot set state is the equivalent of set count. And when trying to do the count, this dot state dot count, then you initialize a certain value there, let's say 0. Then this dot set state. So those are that's the comparison between the older way of creating states. So yeah, here, so let's create a state for email and password. So first is we need to import that here. We'll say use state. Use state. Okay. So we will declare here const, then let's say email, and then the convention is like what is the state name, then you pair it with set state name. So here set email, and then we say use state, and then the initial values I'll just set it to blank. So if we don't import this use state here, we can still use it, but how we will declare it is like this: react dot use state. So you can also do this here. Okay. So but since we imported it, so yeah. Okay. So this one here, let's create another state for our password. So let's say password, then set password. Okay. So now that we have initialized our state, the next thing that we have to do is make sure that the value of the text fields that we have will actually be contained by our state. So how do we do that? So text field, we have a property called value, and then we can directly assign that to our state here, email. Same for the password. So let's say value, then bracket, then password. Now, what this will do is that whatever is the value of your text field will be saved to the email state. But then what if you're trying to like type and track the current value of it as the user is typing in their keyboard? So you need another property in a text field element called on change. Okay. Then um in here, since we have this thing also called events. Events are like user actions, for example a mouse click or keyboard type. So in here we're trying to catch the event for this certain text field. So what we will do is actually pass an event to our set state function, which is the set email. And then we will be able to get what is the user currently typing on their keyboard by saying p the target dot value. So you can read more about this in about event handling. So and also will be the same for the password, but then we will be using the set state for the password. Set password. Okay, now that's done. One thing we need to do is that since our text field are wrapped inside a form, what we will do is we will create a handle submit function. So we will declare the function here just before the render function we have. So we will say const handle submit. That will be an async function. Then that will receive an event. Then the first thing we have to do is say event.prevent default. So what does prevent default do? Um, Basically, prevent default is used in order for your form not to perform auto submit uh, using a non-JavaScript logic. So and then the next thing we have to do is actually select the form that we have that we will submit. So I will say const form, and I will say event dot current target. Okay. So what does this do is that it's just referencing to the form that we will submit. You can also use reps with this. And so the next thing we have to do, let's just log what form is so that you'll see form equals form. Okay. So next is we will perform some form of the check the validity of our form. So we'll access the validation of the form that we have. So when say if form dot check validity, we can read about this in more on events. Validity, that a function is equal to false, then we will stop the propagation. So event dot stop propagation. Okay. If all else is good, then we will call our API, which we will define after this. So login, not user login, but just login. Okay. So now this handle submit, we will call this in our form. So form also has an event called on submit. So we will call that here. So let's say on submit is equal to the handle submit function. Handle submit. Okay. Now we will define this login function. So here we will finally use this. So this is the API call. Okay. So let's specify a method. So let's say actually a function. Say const login, and then again it will be an async function with no parameter, and then arrow function. Okay, so we will wrap this in a try catch. So good error handling practice. Try catch, then say error. Okay, so in this case, I will just log the error like what I usually do throughout this session. Throughout this course. So error. Okay, so here we will already call our use await log. We will already call our user login. So I will store the response of this particular API call in a response name variable. And so I will say await user login. Then what is again required in our user API? So here the data. So what is our data? our data is basically our email and password, but those should be wrapped in an object because that's what we designed in our API. So let's say, so here, since we have the states that are holding the value of our email and password, we can directly call that here. Okay? And so after that, what we will do is that we will let's log the response. Okay? So say response. Then when we try to log in, what normally happens is that the server or the backend will actually return us an access token. So we can use this access token in order for us to access protected routes. That means protected API resources, meaning only authenticated users are allowed to exchange information with the server. So we need to get a hold of this token. And so what we'll do is some people, some developers use store their tokens in cookies, so some in sessions. But in our example, we will use local storage. So what is local storage? So let me quickly open my inspect element here. So I'll go to application, and then I'll look in here, and as you can see, we have this particular key and the value. So mm, local storage is a way for you to save data in the browser. So if your value persists, if we put something here, then we can simulate a user session. That means if the particular value persists, we could say that the user is authenticated. So we can do that. So how do we save a data in our local storage? So let's go to Mozilla developer documentation. Actually, I know, but then it's good for you to have that practice of opening up docs and googling things. So here, this is the way of setting a value in your local storage. So here we say local storage, the set item, then this is the key, and then the value. And if you're trying to retrieve the value, you can say get item and then the key. But then you're trying to remove, if you try to remove that, for example, if we log out already, because we will be, excuse me, because we will be implementing also log out, which means we will break the session. We will break the value that we store in the local storage for the user session. That means we will remove those particular data that we will save, including the token. And then if you want your local storage to be cleared, then we can use this thing. So let's go back to our code and let's do that. So in here, okay, let's just try to see what this looks like so that we will know what is exactly the format of the things that we will save in our local storage. So the handle submit is not defined. Okay, wrong spelling. Okay, it should work now. Okay, yes.
We are 5 minutes to the hour almost. So if you want to
Mm-hmm.
finish and we can have a small break, I let you finish what you started, maybe if you want,
Mm-hmm.
or just be aware the break
Okay.
time is soon here.
Okay, so let's quickly test that. I'll go to my. Is this the one? Yeah, I think so. Let's open our console log. So let's just view the response. So I will say this. I have a user here, so I will say password 01. So I'll sign in, and then as you can see, I can see the form here. So this is what we actually logged in our handle submit here. So we can really say that this form here is what we actually submitted. And then we have the response here. So these are the data that you will receive for the successful API call. So you have here for example, the data. So what's important here is actually the response.data. So you have the access token and the user is actually also returned. So we will fetch this. We will store this in our local storage. And so, yeah, I think it's 7:55. So we will do that after the break and continue on with our discussion.
Uh, yes, only me. So I wanted to say, guys, watching the channel, we're on a 5 minutes break. Please, if you have any questions about anything, about whatever Cleo has been discussing, about the technical implementation or anything related to the content of this course, please let us know in the comment section so we can really answer all your concerns and questions. And yeah, and if you have any questions about anything related to software development more in general, etc., you can obviously address your question to me. So let's have a small break on our side and please comment so we know exactly what you think about. Thank you, guys. All right, we're back.
Hello. So, so yeah, let's continue. Uh, okay. Is everyone still following through, or if I'm fast or if I'm slow? Let me know. And then if you have ways, also like tips and tricks that you can share, please comment them down so that we can also share that to everyone. And if you have better ways of implementing things, then surely let me know. Then we will also discuss that. Okay. So as I was saying a while ago, we're able to get the response from the certain API. And if we try to look at our network, uh, we can see here that this particular endpoint, which is our deployed backend, then our user login, then we will be able to see here the payload, which is the email and the password, and then our response also here. So using the console log, we're able to identify what is the structure of our response. So we will be using that in order to save our access token and probably also the user data in our local storage. So in this case, I will just store the use this particular key here, the data. So response dot data. So I will store everything in local storage. So let's do that. So in here, after we log the response, we will say local storage dot set item. Then the key. What will be our key? So I will just say ngo directory underscore auth. And what I will save here is the value, which is I will, because when we try to save things in local storage, what the okay, let's wait, let's comment that, and then let's try to see what is the type of this response that we have here. So response type. Okay, then we say type of response. So because when you try to save data in local storage, they're only in strings. So let's see if let's try to sign in again. Sign in. And then as you can see here, the type of the response that we have is an object. So we need to convert this into string before we can actually save this in the local storage. So what we will do is we will say JSON dot stringify, then insert our response dot data. Okay. The next thing that I will I will store in our local storage is the time that we actually logged in. This will be helpful whenever we try to identify if we will already break the user session. That I will give the user session 24 hours. So after that, I will force log out the user. So I will put a timestamp. So I will say local storage, the set item. Then the key would be login timestamp, and then I will get the current date, which uh, I can get from new date dot get time. Then of type two, I will do string. Okay, and then the last thing that I will have to save is the user ID. We will find out why we are saving the user ID in a while. So here I would say user underscore ID, but this is not really a safe way, like storing everything like the user ID in local storage. But this is just for our demonstration purposes. If there's a way for you to actually like keep track of the user ID while not storing it in the local storage, then that approach is way better. User the So why am I saying response dot data dot user dot underscore ID? because again, when we try to look here in our response data, response that data, then user, and then our ID. So that's our user ID there. And then the last thing that I have to do aside from storing this valuable information that we get from our API call, after I log in, what's the normal mechanism after that? We redirect our user to the dashboard or the home. So here we will also do that. So in this case, we will redirect the user into the view page of our NGO directory. So the list of all the organizations, we will direct that in the NGO list. And what is the path again of our NGO list? Is the slash list. Okay. And how do we do that? So we will be able to do that by using hook, use state, use history for in React DOM. So React router, let's quickly go to React router. Then let's try to search for use history here. So here we import the use history. Then we encapsulate the use history hook in history variable. Then we can already use the, for example, history that push. That push means that you're actually navigating it to another 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 route. And then if you try to access the history object, you will see there the navigations that the user has been going through to your app. So for example, the user goes to the base path, then goes to the home page, then goes to the users list page. So that's what's the use of the use history here. So let's do that. We already have a React router DOM and our package at JSON. I think we have that because we already have a router. So yeah, here. So let's do that. Let's import that in our sign in page here. I mean, yeah, sign in page. So on the very top, because right after are the material UI components. So not on caps. So I'm gonna say import use history, and then I'm gonna say from React router DOM. React router DOM. Okay. And then the next thing is inside my component, I will uh, just like what we have in the example here. So I'm gonna say let history is equal to use history. Use history. So one way of identifying hooks is that remember that in use state you have this use keyword, use state, use effect, use context, use history. So as you all know, React Router DOM is an npm library. So when hooks are introduced in React, the libraries are also adapting to the way that hooks are being used in React. So this is one example of that. So use history. Then we can already consume this variable here. So we'll say history dot push, then going to the list. Okay, let's try to run that, and let's try to log in again and see if we will be redirected. So let's see our application. So far, we don't have any. I tried to log in a while ago, so I already have this. Let's try to clear that and see if it will save the items that we just set in our local storage. Sign in. And then when I tried to sign in, it generated all of these values here. And then I was also redirected to my list navigation. So far, so good. It's working. Now, the next thing that we have to do is keep track of our user. So we have to keep track of the authenticated user. So I will create a utility function that will hold the information for our IsLoggedIn, because the next thing that we will have to change actually is here. We're already logged in, but still our button here is still logged in. So we need to convert that to log out. So we need to have a flag is logged in set to true or false in order for us to identify that. So here, I'll go to utils and I'll create a new file here called auth.js. Okay, so the first thing that I will do for auth.js is actually set a time limit for when is my session going to last. So I will say here const time limit, and I will set that to 24 hours, and I will, because when I try to calculate the token expiry or the session expiry, I need to express them in seconds. So what 1 hour, no, not 1 hour, but a day. So 24 hours in seconds. How much is this? So it's this 864, 86,400. Okay. Let me copy that and I will put that there. So I will say 24 hours in seconds, just for us to know. Then I will create an object. I will say, I will export them, say export const, then auth. So the first thing I have to set here is logged in. Okay, is logged in. Okay. So what will isLoggedIn do is that it will check the local storage if ngo directory auth is existing, that particular key, that particular value is existing. So what we can do is say local storage dot get item, and then let's just go back to our sign in. Okay, and then copy this. Okay, I could have copied, anyway. So get item, and then this one. But then we have a problem here. So if ever that this does not exist, what will this return is actually null. So what we have to do is we need to force a boolean value out of null, and we can do that by actually setting double negation. So here. So if this particular item is matching is matched, if local storage will return something, whether it be string or anything, it will set this is login to true. If not, then the null will be forced to return a false value. So that's our identification. The next thing that we have to set is the time limit, because who knows, this will be useful. So time limit. So we have to keep track of how long is our token valid. Then the last thing, not really the last thing, but then the last key in this particular object is token expired. So this is actually the force logged out feature already. It's token expired. Actually, this is wrong because what I'm doing here is I'm equating this when this in fact is an object. So I have to do it like that. Okay. So is token expired? So here I will get the current date and minus it to the timestamp that we have in our, wait, where is it again? Here. The timestamp that we have in our local storage. And from there, I would know if it's already like way beyond a day. And so here, I will say, first I will process this. Mhm. Okay, so new date, uh, dot get time. Mhm. Then I will minus that to what we have in our local storage. But then what we have in our local storage is actually of type string, remember, because everything saved there is of type string. I cannot perform mathematical operations on a type string. So I need to convert it to something. So I need to say parse in. Then then I will store that. I will put that inside. So I will have a condition that if I don't have local storage get item, I'll just set it to 0 if there's no value. So, but then since this is I need to encapsulate this in a what's this double backtick for us to render the variable. So local storage. Let me just copy this one. No, not that. Local storage that get get item, then login timestamp, right? So that was the key. Login underscore time timestamp. Then if I don't have this, then I will just render it to null. So that doesn't exist. Then I will return that. I mean, not null but 0. Okay. And then uh, let's try to see what this looks like. Okay. Let's try to console and log. Then I'll paste it. What is the value of this? So this is actually like this is your current time, and in order for us to know to make calculations on it, we should divide it by 1,000 because that is like the seconds format. Yeah. So divided by 1,000 and then is greater than time limit. So this will actually return true or false for the is token expired based on this certain expression here. Okay, that's set. We have one final thing that we need to do for the auth.js, which is the token itself. So here I will create a function, retrieve user credential, because this will hold the entire data that we have, response that data. So retrieve user credential. Okay, and then so since what's stored in our local storage is actually a string, we have to convert it to object so that we can selectively destructure whatever information we need from that value in our local storage. So I will say return json.parse, and then I will get this. I will copy this. And then if this is not existing, then I will just return an empty object. I will actually put this in a quotation because a single quote, because reason that parse will accept a string parameter. Okay, let's try to save this and let's try to run and see if everything is okay. It doesn't. We don't do anything yet here, but just actually try to see if there's an error in our code. So let's wait for that. Okay, it's all good. The next thing we have to do is the header. So our header, since we are logged in, we need to transform this into logout. So let's go to our header component. So let's look for the login button. So in here, what I will do actually is to have two buttons. Why is that? Because having two buttons for the login and for the logout, they have their own event handler, which is button on click, right? Whenever we try to click a button, we will execute a certain function or a certain method. And if we only have one button, then we will just depending on the auth that is logged in, then that won't actually would be a conflict because we cannot have two we cannot have a conditional statement for the on click property in our button. So let's have two button here. Let's have another button for login, that's for login, and we have another button for our logout. So that when we try to have on click, we will execute the function for the logging in, and then we will also execute the function for logging out. Okay, so the next thing that I'll have to do is I actually need to go back to my sign in page and actually set auth that is no, I still have to call it on the here up above the what we have here. So I'll go to the login, and then I'll import that. I'll say import, and then I'll import the auth object that we just created. And from here, I will just say utils, thanks to our absolute import. Then auth. Okay. So here we have auth here. Then we can call that here auth. Sorry. Say auth dot is logged in is equal to true. We will set that automatically to true. But then the method that we have will still set that to true because we already set the local storage values here. But then let's just set that to true. Okay. So next is what we call in React as conditional rendering. So what is conditional rendering? Let's go to the documentation. Conditional rendering in React. Okay. So what in a nutshell, conditional rendering means that if I have a certain value, then I will render this particular element or particular component. So in our case, if is logged in is equal to true, then our button the button that should be rendered is the what? The logout, right? So if is logged in is equal to false, then the button that we will render is the login. Okay? So let's do that. So yeah, you can this is actually this is the classes type before. So this dot set state, but then we're using hooks right now, so it's way easier. Our life is more convenient. So yeah. Here this is the conditional rendering, the if else. As you can see here, it's rendering the logout button and the login button. But then we will have the ternary operation to do that. So let's go to the header in here. So we will have a curly brace here that says, "Oh, okay, let's actually call our is logged in here to the auth because we cannot call it without importing." So here let's import auth, import, then let's say auth, and then from, let's say, utils, and then what is it again? Auth. Okay, so we can already access this since we already imported this. And then here I will call dot dot is logged in. If that is true, then I will have the logout, right? The logout button. So I will put that. Else, I will have the login button here. So I hope everyone is still following. So what we did here, where is it? It's so here we have auth is login. If that is true, then the logout button will be rendered. If the value is actually false, then the login will be displayed. Okay. Let's try to run that. Compiling. Is it running? Yes. No error, no warning. Let's go back to our React. Let's. So as you can see here, we have the logout. Okay. Let's try to remove the. Let's try to delete everything. I mean, like the application here in our local storage. So let's try to. We can see log in. Let's do the whole thing again. Let's say password 01. Oh, why is it still log in? But when I try to refresh this, it's already logged out. Any idea, guys? Why is it not implementing directly? Let's go back to our code. Okay, I think there's some whenever we try to actually like refresh it, it will already reflect. So there is something there's like a discrepancy in the way we are updating our our isauth. Anyhow, I'll fix that later. Let's proceed. So okay, so now we're having that isauth, and then we're already able to integrate the sign in. Now the next thing we have to do is actually like secure our routes, because even though that I'm not authenticated, let's say let's delete that and let's try to access the list, I can still go to this route here. So the next thing that we have to do is actually make sure that we have to make sure that the okay, actually not the protected routes. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do the protected route first. Okay, so even though I'm not authenticated, I can still go to the list route, which is not good, right? Because this should be a this should only be accessed by authenticated users. And so what we will do is let's go back to our code. Okay, so in here in the views, I will create a file here, and I will call it index.js. So in here, I will declare my public and private route. So we will create components as private and public route. Mm, so I'll initialize this file. I'll call the React import. Okay, let's close some of the files here. Okay, and then the next thing that I have to do is for the router DOM. So here I will just copy this, but I will have different object destructured uh, imports. So what I will have here is the route. Okay, and then redirect. And then what I will do is also have the import. I will also import auth here, is logged in, because that will be very important. Uh, utils, no, not this way. Utils slash then auth. Okay. So the next thing that I have to do is create a private route component. So I'm gonna say const private route. Uh, so the way I will do that is like this. So I will have a component here that says private route. Then still it will have a property here and all the other properties that we're passing. So like that. So let's go back to our index.js. So here the parameter would be uh, component. And what component will it actually render? The next thing that we have to take note of the parameter is actually the rest of the props that this particular component will be receiving. Okay. Then next would be our function. And then here we will call the is logged in. So let's say const that is since our auth is actually an object, let's object destructure it. Is logged in, okay, equals auth. Okay. So inside here, I will say return the render function. Then I will create a route here, a generic route. No, this is actually self-closing. Okay. So I will take into consideration the other properties that we have in our route, like the exact, the path, and all that. And then after that, I will render something in this particular route. And so in here, I will create a function that will accept the props. I will accept props, and then arrow function. And then we will check if it is logged in. If it's logged in is equal to true, then that means we can access this particular component that's been assigned with a private route. So let's say component, then props, whatever props that component has, and self-close. I'm lacking one dot. Then the next is or. So if is logged in is true, it will render this component. If not, then we will do a redirect. So since you are not allowed to go to this particular route, we will direct you to the login, which is on the base path. Okay. No, this is not actually redirect to. Okay. Uh, I'm lacking one curly brace. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did I miss something? Wait. Redirect to. Then. Mm-hmm. Then. Uh, okay. I'm lacking one. Okay. And then for the return. Oh God. Okay, it's okay now. So that's for our private route, and then we will export that. Export private private route. Yeah. Okay. The next thing we have to do is for the public route. Okay. So let's say
Cleo,
const.
can I
Yes.
interrupt you for a second? So we had the community are helping you out for the login, logout button.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Rochelle was saying in Swift, use reload in Vue will appear after the event happens. So it will reload, refresh the page. So I don't know if Swift, we're talking about Swift iOS. It could be that. On the purple logo, they say, I think the component doesn't know if it needs to update when the login change when the login value changes. So the component doesn't know it needs to update. Um, so that's one. And
Mhm.
Gatsby is saying, I think you should change props to rest.
For that's for the index.js. You mean this one?
Mm, I,
Render
that's probably the one that Gatsby is mentioning.
like that, and then this one. Okay.
No, Gatsby
So
say no, it's okay, my bad. So probably rest or props can be. Maybe we can explain a little bit what.
actually, this is like a parameter. So what's passed here? Because we're also taking into consideration the other props like the exact and then like that. But there we are having this pseudo what's this? How do you call that? The parameters are actually named differently than the actual value that it receives. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing here. So I think this would work.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You can move on. Just to answer the comments that were made.
Yeah. So for this we still need to fix this auth that is logged in. So thank you so much for the comments. But then yeah, we can proceed and let us know if you have suggestions on, because what I did here is actually set the auth is logged into true, right? And that is after we actually set the ngo directory auth. Then from our auth.js we have it here. And mm, so I'm wondering why we're directly setting it here, and we're doing that before we are doing this before we actually redirect. So that means the value of the is logged in is already set to true. And so for some reasons, yeah. So if you have suggestions on how to do this, then let me know. And while meantime, we're all brainstorming here for that certain bug, let's proceed. Uh, so, mhm, mhm, yeah. Mhm. So yeah, let's try. Let's simulate that. So that Gatsby will. Thank you so much for helping, Gatsby. By the way, so let's do this. Password one, right? That I will try to authenticate, and this should actually take me to the list. And I already have ngo directory auth here. And after saving this local storage items that I have, I actually set the value of my auth that is logged into true. But for some reasons, go to when we try to actually go to the slash list route, it actually says here log in. It's not taking into consideration the value of the value that we set to true. So
However, if
yeah,
you refresh the page, then that button
yeah,
will now show logout. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's not fetching real time. I think the updates on this particular variable. So yeah, if you have idea on how to do this, then let us know. We're all collaborative here. So yeah, for the meantime, let's proceed with where am I again? For the public route, yeah. So let's go to our index.js again. Yes. So private route. So I think we're all good that we're actually passing props here in our component. So is logged into true, then yeah. But if you're not logged in, uh, then uh, we are redirecting it. So next is the public route. So public route. So the same thing. We will have this. No, not okay. Like that, and then I will have this, and I will have a return function. Yeah, have return, and then here, no, this wrong spelling. Okay, so aside from having this component, I will also have a variable in my parameter called restricted. So we'll set that to false. Okay, what's the use of this restricted? So if restricted meaning it's false, then means it's a public route, unrestricted access. But if it's true, mean that we can have like something like sign in and sign up. So this is useful if we try to log in, we should also restrict the user from going back to the login and the sign up. So let's do that. Uh, I'll create a route here, and I will put the other props that will be passed onto that route, and I will have a render, and same as here. Let me just copy this. Okay, I will put a closing so that we won't be having those issues a while ago. Okay, so let's have this. Okay, so in here, but here, instead of like is logged in, we also need to take into consideration about the restricted. So if the user is logged in, and if this particular route is restricted, then that means we will be redirected to our list. So that means the user is logged in. You cannot go to login, sign up and login page anymore. So list, and then if not, if all is good, then it will render the component. So in here. Okay. Then the next thing that we have to do is uh, I'll go to public route, and I will export this. And my prettier actually try to indent this format in a way. Okay. The next thing we have to do is actually call this in our app.js. So we will be transforming this thing here with our public and private routes. So let's import our private and public routes. So let's say private route, then public route is equal to, then from views, not no equal. Okay, from views. So you may be wondering why I'm not putting slash index there, because in React, so if you have a directory and you have a file there index.js, it will automatically execute that index.js. It will look for that index.js, and that will be like the file that it will render. It will not render but execute. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is identify here which are actually the private routes. So I think the private route for this is just the list. So let's convert that to private route. Okay, and then let's just have this as self-closing. So I'll remove this like that. It's self-closing. Then the public would be the sign up and then the login. So you say public route. I'll copy this and I will delete this here. I will say slash that, and then I will need to put a restricted here. Restricted set to true. So the same for the public route. Okay, let's test if this will work. Do we have any warnings? Route is used but never route is yeah. So here we're not using route anymore because we wrap that with our public and private route components. So let's try that, and we don't have a warning here anymore. So let's try to delete this and try to access this. So as you can see, we are redirected to our sign in page. How about let's try to log in and try to access the login again once we're authenticated. Okay, that's weird. Um, I'll do it again. So then password 01. Now for some reasons, the I think it's because I have this to true. Let's set this to boolean. Uh, let's try that because I was assigning this into a what's this? Assigning it into a string. So I'll try also this one. Hmm. Okay. Let's see if this works. So that, and I'll try to access this. Okay. So that was solved. So my mistake was that I actually set this to actually a string instead of a boolean value, when in fact when we put that in our index.js, the value should be a boolean. And then here, when we try to test it, when we're already authenticated, we try to access the sign in and sign up, but then we're redirected to the list. So our private and public routes are actually working. So we have a comment here from Gatsby. It says, if I'm not mistaken, your route structure looks like this. Mhm. Notice how your header component is not inside switch. When you call history push list, the is not a part of any component in your route, so it never gets re-rendered. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's try that. Let's try that approach. So I will transfer that here in the header and try to test it again if our conditional rendering will already work. So again, I will delete this and try to log in. Okay, what happens now? Is it still exact path, public route, restricted to true? Hmm. I have another error here. When I try to put the header in the switch, it actually gives me that will not work.
Yep, that's what they say. So we have two other comments. One on the purple streaming platform. Say, is the header with the login button a child of the route? So it re-renders when the route changes, or does it sit above or parallel to the routes? Um,
Oh,
he's been
can
joining
you?
a bit late, so he was not able to be 100% sure of what was the previous process. Um, so that
Okay.
was one, or otherwise, Rochelle was talking about doing a refresh page with a non-click action from JavaScript and then a function window location reload.
Actually, we already did that because remember that here in our login we have a history.push list, so it's actually redirected to the list view. So that's actually like but then you will do a reload for the list. I think that.
So the refresh
Mm.
page is already happening on the.
Yeah, because we're actually like transferring from one route to another, so it's
Yeah.
like re-rendering the whole DOM. So yeah,
Um,
still a mystery.
One common approach is to create a layout component that they include in any public route and private route you have. Or
Mm.
on the other streaming, Heuristic says switch on only returns one component.
Can you put that on the? Yeah, I cannot see the comments. From what comment is that?
This one comes from the purple streaming platform.
Mm.
How can I share with you that one? I think you
Uh,
can wrap the header in a route, so it
mm.
will re-render when the route changes.
Okay. So I will wrap it in a route. So okay. So I will just say say route. Then I need to import the route again here. So we have route there. Then I will not assign a path. Then I will just render the component. So am I is what I'm doing correct or not?
That seems to be what heuristic is talking about. Yes, but let's see.
Let's see.
Heuristic, if you if we're misleaded, I mean, if we don't implement the way you think, and let us know.
Okay, I'll try to test again. So it says here that the okay. Uh, I will the application. Okay, we don't have, so I will log in again. Oh, okay. It actually worked already. Thank you so much.
All
So what
right.
we did,
So I
what
think
we did.
the purple streamer has been finding us the solution. Thank you guys for helping out Gatsby, Rochelle, and Heuristic. It's super cool.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah,
see,
that's
that's the life of a
collaborative.
software developer, not to always be able to
Yeah.
debug ourselves, but the other friends and coworkers can help us out. So that's awesome.
Mm.
So now you know what was wrong.
Yeah, we need to wrap it up with the public route and then have the header, and then it will be re-rendered again. So that's why it's when it's re-rendered, it actually fetches the update on the value. So yeah, it's working now. Thanks a lot, guys. You're awesome. So yeah.
Okay,
So
5 to the hour. Do you want to get the is saying also the layout component? We look like function layout children return. That's on Facebook, so maybe you can see. And
mhm.
in one your component right now, the forward slash for login, you will have to import the layout component. Import layout from component slash layout function login. Do you know that's possible?
So that means you will have a like a wrapper function for, yeah, you will have a layout component that will basically wrap your header, and then yeah. Mm.
So Gatsby is surprised of the final implementation. I mean, the one that works.
Mm.
But there is no one unique way of implementing it, obviously. So
Mhm.
glad Gatsby has been learning something. So I think it's cool also. Okay, we're 5 to the hour. Do you want to have a little celebration break for 5 minutes?
Yeah, let's do that. Your water break, guys, because we still have an hour to go to do things. So yeah.
All right, guys, let's get back to you in 5 minutes. Cheers.
And yeah, let's keep this session interactive and collaborative. So now that we're already done with wait, let's try to log in again. Let's try to test. Yeah, it works now, but then the another problem that we have is that it won't redirect to our
List
list.
page.
So let's try to see in our code what could be missing. So yeah, the header now works. Let's try to put this inside the switch. Okay, let's try to see if this would work already. I'll delete this and I'll try to log in again. And yeah, or when I try to put the header inside the switch, it won't work. And for some reasons, uh our what's this? When we try to log in, we're not redirected to the list. So that's another problem we have when we try to fix the login header. Okay. Okay, so for now, let just like what we did, let's have the community brainstorm about what is probably wrong with this. But then we will now already proceed with working on our list here, so that yeah. So yeah, if you have suggestions on how to solve that bug for like here, but then when we try to log in, it won't actually do the history that push in our sign in here. History that push list. So yeah, there's something wrong. And so now we're here in our list. What this what we will do here is actually put in traverse our organizations what's this data from our DB. But then when we try to go to Postman, uh, I'll I'll try to not put the authentic bare access token. We see here that this is actually a protected route. So protected API. So we need to supply a token in order for us to get the list of organizations we have. So in here. So how do we simulate this in front end? Like how do we pass an authorization header in our API call? So let's do that. Um, so the next thing we'll do is we will go to our API. Use mm-hmm, so in our here, and so since we have the retrieve user credential. Remember, in our auth.js we have this, which basically will contain the token. Let's go back. Uh, anyway, so we were able to see the okay, let's go back to our application and our local storage. So we have here the ngo directory auth. Then we have here this access token. So we will be fetching this from our retrieve user credential from our auth.js here. And then we will put that in our user API.js. So what we will do is hmm, so here we just have the user login and user sign up, right? But what data we will be getting is the organizations. And so we will create another file here inside our API and say organization.api.js. Okay. And then same as what we did with user API, we will, okay, this is already utils like that because the absolute imports again, still it will work. Okay, like that. And then we will also import the retrieve user credential. So here, retrieve user credential. So let's formulate this before we integrate the API call to our to our NGO list view. So from uh, utils slash auth. Okay. The next thing we have to do is actually like put the header, the what's this? Formulate the authorization header and assign it into a variable. So here, let's say headers. Uh, and then as you can see here, headers will be actually be passed in object, and it will have a key called headers. And then inside will be what header we will have. And so I would say here authorization, authorization, okay. And then I will have the same with what I did with Postman, bearer. And then string literal using the double backticks. So I will have uh, retrieve user credential. Then this is actually a function. Then I will get the access token. Okay. And so the next thing that I have to do is just like I did in the user API, define the function. So let me just copy that. And I will say here all organizations. And I will not pass any data, but instead what I will pass here is the headers. And then here, this is not actually api.post, but instead api.get. Careful about copy pasting because we will be spending hours of debugging again. So the next thing is the slash organizations. Let's try to check in our Swagger here. Yeah, get all organizations list. Yeah, this is the API. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So slash organizations. I think we're all good with that. Okay. Import user details of this API. Yeah. Retrieve user credential. Oh, wrong spelling. That's why it's not highlighted. Retrieve. Okay. Now it's good. Okay. The next thing we have to do is work on our list route, which is this one, NGO list. So again, I have this copyright component and use styles. I will put this uh, below. I will just put the cards in there because that's the static data that's being looped currently by mm, our component. So let's try to understand what is inside our NGO list index.js file. So here we have an array of cards until 9. So if we go back to our view here, we actually have 9 cards here. So this data here will be replaced by what we will be fetching from the API, and that will be iterated by our map function here. Okay? So the very first thing we have to do is create a state that will hold the organizations that we will be fetching. um, from the API call that we will also do in a while. So I will say const organizations, set organizations, okay, equals useState. So we haven't imported useState here. So let's say useState. Okay, so useState. Then I instead of a blank like empty string, I will just initialize it with an empty array. Okay, let's try to save that and let's go back here. So let's try to clean up a bit. Okay, so this one we don't actually need this, and this too we don't really need this, and also these buttons here. So what we will probably be needing is just this one, but we will be labeling this as ngo list, ngo directory or something like that. And so let's do that. Uh, ngo directory. Okay. So let's try to remove this unused parts here. So probably the app bar, we won't be needing that. And this album layout, we'll be calling this ngo directory. And then here, the other typography is not needed. And also this hero buttons here, this div is not needed also. So let's try to run. And also, when you try to remove things from your component, also remove the imports that will not be needed anymore. So I think camera icon. What else? Try to save. The toolbar. Toolbar also is not needed. Okay. So organizations and set organizations are declared but never used. So later on, let's stay put for that. Don't worry about that warning because we will be using that in a while. Yeah, so as you can see here, this is how it looks already. It's coming together. So the next thing that we have to do is actually call our API. So hmm, for a while, yeah. So let's call our API. Let's import uh, from our organization API. So just like what we did with login. So here, so what did we call it again? I think all organizations, right? Yeah. So all organizations from organization.api. Okay, we have that. The next thing is so we will be using so what happens here is that before what happens is like this. When we try to go to our list navigation, we need our organization's data be ready before before our component is actually being rendered. Why? Because we need to have this data be presented with the component. And so for this, we will be using the useEffect hook. So I'll be explaining a little bit about the life cycle. So in React, mm, we have something called component life cycle. So 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 render phase, it's just the normal, render, like the browser will display whatever you have in your render function. But there are things that happen before and after the render phase. So your component will go through three phases in its life cycle. So first is the mounting. That means you will declare your constructor, that your constructor will probably have the states that you have, and then it will also perform a component did mount. So this component did mount will make sure that everything you needed for your component before rendering is actually already there. So that's the same with what we will do here in the use effect hook that we will do, because we will try to fetch the data first before displaying our component. And so it's also said here that render phase pure has no side effects. So what does side effects means? Side effects are called side effects because we're not always using the React things. That means everything React, right? Like sometimes we need to call API. We have to use webhooks, and these other things. So these are called the side effects. And um, so in here in the so here the component did mount will perform the before side effects. That means the API call that probably you want to perform. Then after that, once your component is rendered, it will try to keep track of the updates in your state. So the values inside your components will have updates. Just like for example when we're typing our email or password, we are actually using the set state there, or the set email and set password hook, use state hook. So after that, for every update, your component it will be triggered a render. So for new props, everything is rendered, and for the set state, um, it will update the current state. And for component did update, it will ask what properties are changed, and then will trigger the re-render, because this is not the first time that it was rendered. The first time it was rendered was here in the mounting. And then lastly, for the unmounting, uh, these are the time where you have to remove the side effects that you were doing. For example, unsubscribe to a particular webhook, or remove all of the event listeners that you have before the component will exit. So remember what we defined with React is that it's a single page application. It has a single stage where you're just calling components. So the unmounting part is actually the part where the component will exit already the stage. So yeah, that's how a component will live through your application when you're trying to call it by route or an event. So yeah, I hope that was clear. And so now we will be let's go to the use effect hook. So here, we will be using the use effect hook. So use effect is like an escape hatch. So it's like it's catching all of that side effects out of your typical life cycle. So for example, the API call, it's not normal, right? Because in a normal flow, we just have the mount, then update, then unmount. It's not in the life cycle, those API calls. So we are using the use effect in order to catch or to trigger those side effects. So here, let's call in use effect. So use effect. So in here, we will inside our function and geo list, we will define our use effect. So use effect. Okay. And then it is actually a function. And then here below is the dependency array. So whatever values that you will use inside the use effect will be displayed here. And why is it on an array? Because there are times that you will be using more variables, more values inside the use effect than just one value. So yeah, I hope that's clear. So in this case, we will trigger this useEffect like a component. What's the name again? Component did mount. Yeah, because we will prepare the data before our component gets displayed. So here, I will create a function which will be our API call. So I will say load organizations, and I will say async because I want this to wait. Um, then I will store the response, and then I will have a wait. Then I will already call this all organizations here. So I don't have to worry about passing tokens already because I already have specified that in my organization API JS like that. And so let's try to log the response that we have inside the useEffect. So response get organizations. Okay, and I will have response data. Let's just try what this looks like. Okay, and here, since I will be fetching already the organizations that I will have, then I need to set that. I will need to store that value in our state here. So I will say set organizations and then the value of our response, which is this one. So don't worry, we will be logging this, so we will see the structure of our response. Okay. Then the next thing that we will do is actually call this load organizations. So here. So this is actually a good example of because some people when they're new in using useEffect, they would ask what is a good example of using async and await inside a useEffect. So it's like this. So let's try to run this. Organizations is assigned, yeah, because we will be using this to be mapped here later on here. So for now, let's stick with that warning. No worries about that warning. We will use organization state later on. So let's try this, and let's see in our NGO directory what we have. So as you can see, we have here the response get organizations. We have an array of 10 organizations. So we're good with that. So here, and then let's see the structure, right? Because I will let me just log the response data so that you will know. So log response data response data. Okay, go back. So here the response data that we have is we have a message and then we have the data. So that's why it says response data dot data. Okay, are we all clear with that? Okay, now that this is done, we're sure that well, we're setting the values that the 10 array that we have. So now let's use the organizations instead of cards in here. Let's try to map that and see what happens. So remember the cards that we have here is 9, but then the length of the organizations that we have in the array is 10. So let's see if we will have 10 cards because we cannot still see the organization title because we haven't set that in the card itself. So let's just see the number of cards that we will have. So let's do okay, let's try to because okay, so we have 10 cards here. So that means we successfully fetch the data from our API and set it to our state, and we are able to what's this? We are able to map through it. Now, the next thing we have to do is actually assign this to each of the title that we have in our card. So let's go. Let's remove this because this cards is not used anymore because we have data already. Okay. So here, organizations dot map. So where's the title? Uh, Card media. So let's just stick to this image, but then in the organizations that we have, remember that we have picture here. So if you and then some of the pictures that we have are just strings, like they're not really links. But then when we have a good data already with links, then we can use that. But for now, let's just stick for to this random image generator here. So here, heading. So let's see heading. So let's assign that to our card where we're trying to map the organizations array, and then each organization is actually assigned as a card. So we will say card. We will assign curly brackets to interpolate card that what's the name again? Let's see in our log. We have a warning, but let's just ignore that for now. So here, org dot name, right? So org dot name. So card dot org dot name. Uh, go here, card org dot name. Let's see. Let's test that. Oh, we don't have any warning right already because we removed the card. So here, as you can see, we have Bantay Bata 1634. Then the next is sad lifer, so and so forth, so on and so forth. So these are just dummy data, guys, but this should be in a real production level app. These are like legit legit organization names. So what we did here was we are able to interpolate. I don't know what's the correct term, but then let's do the others. So for example, this one, this should be like the description, right? What's the key? So here, org description. Let's say org description. Okay? No. I have to say card.org underscore description. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here we have this Bantay Bata 1634 rescues abused children, and then yeah, and all the other descriptions that we have.
Can you, Cleo, just for the sake of let's say the more junior developers, go to the
Mhm.
database and change directly a couple of organizations, yeah, through Postman or
Mhm.
and just change the name, the title of you put org one or two or three, and this
Can I
one,
go
this one.
to Robotriti instead?
Yeah, Robot 3T is fast.
Ah, yeah.
Because if we do it with Postman, I'm assuming we need to first go through the authentication, then get the token, and then use the bearer, which will be slower. So Robot 3T, we can already edit directly the database
Mhm.
without
So
having to go through the API.
yeah, so organizations. Wait. So we have here Bantay Bata 1634. So I'll
Uh,
review. What should I edit?
Change the side lifer. We are to happy organization.
Okay. I'll edit this, and I'll say happy organization, happy organi organic organization, and
And
I'll
in
save that.
description, you put ding. And in the description, you put thank you for all participants, whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now you've been
Okay. So let's try. Let's try to refresh here.
Okay, happy organization already there. Good.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah. So
Now we
so
see
that
that you've been parsing through all the objects in the right way, and you changed from the source.
yeah.
Jendi Manatad says, "Hey, hey, hey, we are a happy organization. You see, that is called marketing."
Sold marketing. Okay. So thank you so much for yeah, so for your comment. Yeah, we are all happy here because we're indeed learning, and learning is priceless. So yeah. Okay. So let's continue. Um Now that we have this, we need to, what's this? We need to have, as a user, I need to directly see the organizations that is assigned to me, right? So, and also I will have another grid here. So the ideal scenario of this, the ideal page here is that we will have a grid here that says organizations you manage, and then another grid that says organizations, other organizations. So let's do that. And then we will see some redundancy here, and that's the time that we will be breaking this view into several components. So yeah, let's do that. Okay. Um, where am I again? Okay, here. So mm, so I will have a typography just below the inside the container. I will, before the grid, I will delete this because we don't have hero unit already. So I will have a typography component, and I will have a variant this, if you're wondering where am I getting all of these props, this is just in the material UI documentation. So let's go again. Typography here. Yeah, so you will be able to find all of the relevant for example, the API. So you will see all the props in here. So I was using the variant, right? Come on, Control F. Variant. So here, variant means what style, what heading size. So always refer to the documentation, guys. It's really helpful. So you'll find all the relevant information here. So let me just type that out. So in here, I'm assigning the variant into H5. So let's just have H5. Not too big, not too small also. Okay, and I will align it to left. So for CSS noobs like me, this is very helpful. Like I can just align left, without going through CSS. This is like heaven for me. So next is like text primary. So, and then the next, the child of this component in Material UI is actually the text that uh, you want to display. So I'll just say other organizations, because we will be calling another API call for the organizations you manage. So let's just render this for now. Okay. Other organizations. Okay. So let's go back to our. So here, let's put I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna put a BR here. Sorry, CSS masters. So yeah, so that it will have a little bit of space. So yeah, other organizations. The next thing we have to do is put here another grid and say manage organizations you managed, or manage organizations. That means these are organizations assigned to you. So we also need to delete this edit button here, because uh, on the rules that we set on the project specifications, um, you can only edit the the organizations that is assigned to you that you directly manage. So we will delete this. Um, but let's just create wait let's create this another container here. I will copy this. This is the redundancy that you will notice, but we will solve this by breaking it out into components. So here, and I will delete the edit button, and I will say here organizations you manage. Do I have a no, I don't have any warnings. So as you can see here, this is what we desire. So in here, the organizations you manage will have view and edit button. And for other organizations, you will just have the view. Okay, so but for now we have the same number of cards is because we're traversing from the same array, which is organizations. And in order for us to get the managed organizations by the user, the authenticated user, we need to call another API. And so mm, for for a while, um okay. Okay, so we need to get the managed organizations by user. That means we need to pass in a user ID, this one. We need to pass in a user ID and it will give us the organizations that are managed by this specific user. So, what will we do? Um, let's do let's create another API for that. But this time we will put it in the users. Why? Because the base path, I mean not really the base path, but then it's concerning with the user, so the relationship. So I will be putting that in the user API instead of the organization API JS. So here, let's say export a function and let's say managed organization by user. Then we will pass in a user ID, and then um, we will have a return API dot get, and then the path. So we will have slash user slash then the parameter user ID, uh, query, no, not query params, but then the URL parameter, and then organizations. And I think this is a protected route. Let's check. So I strategically strategically put the save the user ID in my local storage, so that makes our life easier, no? So here I have that. I'll copy that and I'll go to Postman and uh, wait. I'll just copy first. Then I'll do this. Okay, so what's it again? Forgot. Uh, user ID organizations. Okay, so user slash user ID slash organizations. Okay, let's try that. Oh, it's not a protected route. So I should do something in the back end for this. Just put the is authenticated. Remember the is authenticated middleware we have. So I probably forgot to put this on the. So yeah, since this is not I will adjust this later on the back end, but for now, since this doesn't require a token, let's just call this and place that in the place that here in our grid, in our organizations you manage grid. So the next thing that we will do is actually call this in our views, in our NGO list and the index.js. So here, uh, I will say mm, this one and go here, and I will say user API. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the next thing that I need to do is call this function in the useEffect. So no, I need to create a state first that will hold the managed organization. So for a while. Okay. So I need to create that here. So const managed organizations. Wait, I'm looking for something. Okay. So manage organizations, then set manage organizations. Okay. And then we have that as a use state. So again, for our use state, we need to set that into an empty array. Okay. The next thing we have to do is actually call that here. So since there's actually a much better way of doing things, but then in my case I want things to be, quick and dirty, but then for demonstration purposes, in order for us to quickly retrieve the user ID, I just save that in the local storage. So for now we can like create a variable that says user ID, and then I will fetch that local storage that get item, then the key, which is the user ID. No, not caps, user underscore ID. Then we call in the we call in this function. I mean this API call. So let's paste that for now there. So I will create a function that says const load managed orgs, and I will have an async function, arrow function here, and I will store the response. So response to. I'm really bad at naming variables, so okay. So and then this one, say that, and then what we will pass here is the user ID, right? That's our parameter. Okay, and then we need to set the value of our state here. So we will use that and say response to data. Okay, and then in here the managed organizations will be mapped. So organizations you manage, instead of organizations here, it's already the other state. Load manage.org is assigned but never used. Okay, so we need to call this function. So in the use effect. So here load manage orgs, that save. Okay, we don't have any error. Let's try to see if Okay, so as you can see here, the organizations that I manage based on the API requests we have in Postman, because this is my user ID. And then, uh, yeah, this is my ID, and then I was able to fetch this. So it's the same in here. So we already have two two datas. Okay, I think it's 9:47, so I will just quickly run through uh, the things that we need to do in the next stream. So in here, as you can see, let's go back to the code. So as you can see, there's some redundancy, right? We're using two containers here, and we're using also a grid. We're using a grid here, and then we're using. Wait, there's an ant in my eyeglass. So we have the container, and we have a grid here, two grids, and then we're also using this card. So that means these components, this grid, the grid element, and then the card. No, not really. Okay, the grid is actually a component in Material UI, right? So it's safe to call it component. So the grid and card component is being used two times in this particular view. So what we need to do is actually extract this and create another component so that we will be able to reuse this. Whenever we try to have another grid, then that would be three grids already. And then our code will be too long because we're basically redundantly, trying to copy paste everything. So we need to separate that because that's the idea behind React. You are trying to reuse the components right here. So this is the grid. Imagine this is the grid and this is the card. So you're actually like separating them in a file. Then whenever you try to, this is the NGO list view page, and then you will just call it no matter how many times you want, but your code will stay here in this component. So that is what we will do in the next session. And then another thing that you have to look out for is that here we will be working on this model here. So let's quickly go to the Material UI. Then let's see dialog here. No components. Then dialog. Here. So for example, here, open form dialog. So we will be able to add an organization. So by the way, I forgot to put here a plus here, so that you can trigger a model and then add an organization. And this organization will automatically be assigned to you, and it will be reflected here in the organizations you manage. Okay, so yeah, we will be working on with dialogue or models in the next session. So, and also we will be integrating the Google sign in and Facebook sign in because we have worked on that on the back end development. Actually, I think I have. No, I didn't put it. I didn't put it here, but basically those are the things that you need to look out for. And then another thing is the admin dashboard. So remember, we have a third user type, super admin. So that means, as you can see here in our React, uh, in our in our uh, in our list path, we don't have a delete here, right? Because I would like that to be done by the super admin. So the use case for this is that the super admin can only delete an organization and a user. And so because you can so the use case here in real life is that the 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 NGO administrator will send an email to the super admin and then say, oh please delete our organization because we're not operating anymore. So you will so the super admin will go to the dashboard and will delete the record. So yeah, that's the reason why we don't have delete in here. Okay, so we'll also be working on the users list. So it will just be a table with all of the users, no action in there because you're just viewing all of the users that's currently in our database. So yeah, what else? Use context. Yeah, the third. Wait, the third basic hooks that we will be tackling is the use context. So wait. So here, basic hooks, we have the use state, we already have that. The use effect, we already used that also. And the last thing that we will tackle for hooks is the use context. So yeah, I guess that's all for me. So I hope you learned something today. Thank you so much. And I'm handing you to our entrepreneur in the house, Baba. What do you
Thank you,
think of
Cleo. Okay, I was actually following with a lot of attention what you were saying
Mm,
about the components and the way you're dividing your code. I think
mm,
you software developers, you have to understand that an application will be constantly moving, constantly changing. Pieces of the code will be stretched, modified many times based on what the project manager, based on what the product owner will ask you, or the CEO or the founder or whatever it's called. So usually through a project manager. But your application will change, your components. It's very, very important that you follow the certain best practices that Cleo is showing you now. So obviously, in just a few hours that we're streaming with you guys, we cannot really be very precise on the way we implement things because we want to be fast, because we want to show you as much as possible. However, it's very, very important for you to understand, not to copy paste, not do what we've done really for today on that specific grid, but really understand what Cleo is explaining along the way, and how this thinking process will help you to build the application in the right way, because there is
mm,
nothing more frustrating at the end of the day to have a product that it's very difficult to change because the code was so poorly implemented, and every time that the project manager, your clients are asking you to change something in your application, if it takes you 3 weeks when it's like minor changes in a certain way, oh yes, but because the previous developer implemented that way and that way, and every time I touch it breaks, that is extremely frustrating. So it is very, very important that you developers are really assembling all these pieces together in the most optimal way. For example, Cleo identified that one of the API was not secured with the token. Was it with the token?
yeah, it's
And
yeah.
and that is a shortcut that we took for the
Mm,
Node.js course, obviously.
mm,
But this information has to be relayed and say, hey, raise your hand, say, I'm sorry, but this API has not been secured. Um, the shortcut also that Cleo was saying about storing the user
mm,
ID into your local storage, it was
mm.
a shortcut also, right?
Yeah. In the next session, we will be creating a use context where use context is just a quick trailer. So the use context is because there's always this thinking that React application should always have Redux. So if for those of you who don't know Redux, Redux is a state management way of state management in React. But then if you're it's not necessary that all your projects should be Redux when you're implementing it in React. You should use only state management when your application actually has complex state. So for example, you're using state, and then when you're trying to update it, it can affect many components. So like that. So that's the time that you will already use it. But then use context, on the other hand, it's a way for storing your state that can be accessed by other components. So in that case, what we did here was a shortcut for the local storage. We just store the user ID in our local storage, but we will use context in order for our user ID to be available anywhere in our component. So yeah. So we're actually doing refactoring along the way. So yeah.
Which is the way you always build a product at the end of the day. You
Mm,
cannot don't over engineer your product before really
mm,
starting to have your product, walking like a baby. You walk, then you start jogging, and then you start learning, and then after you sprint, right? So it's a step by step process. Don't try to go fast immediately. It's very
mm,
important to build that one. And actually, regarding Redux, Ranchodas was on Facebook asking us when we'll do that, and I was answering that we did implement Redux with a specific application back then that was basically a chatbot that was interacting with the state of many different objects in the database. So it was a Lazada application where you could order through a chatbot. So basically, your Amazon or your online store, you will change by just changing and chatting on the live chat. So obviously, all these different objects had different, very, very different state changing along the way because it was a live boat. And then on the other side, there was a lot of different transactions that needed to be triggered. And Redux was extremely helpful at that time to be implementing that one. So yes, indeed, Redux is not something that is necessary always. We got Gatsby that was saying, as a suggestion, I would learn state management in this order. Local states first, which is equal to use state, context and providers, shared state, and state management library like Reduct,
mhm,
or I guess recoil.js is coming. So it's
mm,
probably a package or a library that is using Redux,
mm.
recoil.js. So I'm not familiar with that one. So yes, that's probably what we are going through, Cleo, right?
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah. More or less, yeah, you're right. It depends on if we will be tackling Redux, but for now, no, we will not, because this application is not applicable with. It doesn't have a complex state management. It's not necessary. So yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so work in progress. The
Mhm.
application is slowly but surely taking shape after only two
Mhm.
streams of 3 hours. So it's fine. In 6 hours, we have an application already functioning, right? So that's
Mhm.
that's that's pretty cool. Thank you, Cleo, for that.
Thank
Guys,
you.
please don't don't forget to implement and code everything that we've done. Push it on your GitHub. Make sure that you can use our code on your public GitHub repository. So you can show that to future employers or
Mm,
whatever, or coworkers. Will be great also if you can share our free courses, free material to your colleagues. So if you did like this course, this stream today, check out our YouTube and our Facebook, and share the links with your friends so they can really enjoy this free material. And
mm,
yeah, and do all the things that you should do in social media, like subscribe, hit the bell, and all of that will be great. Next week, same day, same time, Thursday, 7 to 10. Um, Now that we have an application already working a bit, let's go
mhm.
further down into this application and let's complete it um, to obviously improve the application. We are not yet done with this application. A lot more to be coming. So thank you. Make sure that you ask us anything on in the comment section, everywhere on Discord or on Facebook, etc. We'll be happy to be interacting with you after this stream. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's pretty much it. Did we cover it all?
Yeah, except for the breaking of the components part. So yeah, almost,
Ah,
but then we
covering
must
the
have that.
entire agenda of what we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, software engineering is like that. You have a project manager that was hoping that you will make it in 1 hour, and it took you an hour and a half, and that's the way it is. And sometimes it's the other way around. You expect it to take 1 hour, and it's gonna take half an hour. I think live streaming Cleo is something that puts a bit of pressure. So I'm sure you did a mistake without figuring out, and I'm sure
Yeah.
if you were not on the camera, you would have solved it much faster anyway. So so do not worry. The agenda we will cover more agendas. So maybe
Mhm.
we're slightly behind, but a lot more to come.
Mm. Yeah.
All
I
good.
think only one topic that's for the breaking the NGO list of view page. So I think it's good. Yeah.
I,
So we can cover that on the next session.
we
So yeah,
definitely learned a lot here. So
yeah.
it was
So all good
awesome.
for. Yeah, thank you so much also. Everyone, thank you so much for being so like collaborative. So let's keep it up, The I'm also learning a lot from you guys. So it's like a two-way street. I learned from you, you learned from me. We all learn. It's everybody's happy. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. It's a learning process. We all learn from each other. So that's
Mm-hmm.
super cool. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So no questions on the different chats. So I guess it's time to cut it off to say
Yeah.
good night to everybody. Sleep tight.
Yeah.
We say thank you to Cleo. Thank you,
Thank you
Maestra
also.
Cleo. Thank you.
Thank you also,
Have a
Sir
good
Brian.
night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye bye. Cheers.